So if you've been in the market to buy a home and it's been a very tough experience to say the least, it's just been very stressful, multiple offers all the time, you go to see a property or schedule a showing and it's already off market, I want to give you kind of an outline of what I think, generally speaking, is going to be a good offer strategy for you and what I'm seeing right now in my local market and what a lot of my buyers are doing in general. So that way you can be better informed and position yourself to be in the best spot to then win the home. So without further ado, let's get into it. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Conor J. I'm a realtor here in Tampa Bay. And I want to give some quick help to buyers who are kind of struggling right now in this market and are trying to find kind of a winning strategy for how they can win the home that they want, especially when you're in multiple offer situations, and what really you should expect going into it if you're a new buyer too. So I'm going to talk about 5 general things: your appraisal, your inspection, your price, your terms, and your cover letter. So we're going to talk about each of those individually. First off, appraisal wise. So this is going to be assuming that you're going to be getting a loan, but most buyers are. And for the most part, even though rates have gone up, it still makes more sense to get a loan than it does to take all of your cash and put it into a property when you could be getting 4 or 5, maybe 5.5%, depending on if it's a second home rental property of sorts. So let's talk about a $500,000 property. If you're buying a $500,000 property, you can say that you're going to buy it for $500,000. And if the property doesn't appraise out, you're going to waive the appraisal, which means that you will make up any difference in cash. So if you decide to buy it at $500,000, and that's what you say you're going to buy it at, if you waive the appraisal and it only appraises at $450,000, that is $50,000 extra you're going to have to bring to the table to close that deal. Option number 2 is that you'll buy the house for $500,000. That's what you put on for price. And in the event it doesn't appraise out, you say, we'll pay $15,000 above appraisal to make up the difference. So if you say you buy it for $500,000 and it appraises at $450,000, you actually are only going to pay $465,000. And the big difference between the two is that with the set amount in terms of the cap, you're not going to have this basically blank check that you might be writing, where all of a sudden if that same property appraises out, let's say $425,000, now you've got a $75,000 blank check that you wrote, which is obviously a big burden for, I would say, most people. And so that it's a very difficult situation to put yourself in, and it definitely opens yourself up to risk. So I would definitely cap it at a certain amount. When it comes to the appraisal, only agree to pay a certain amount above appraisal, whether that's $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, or $1,000. Whatever it is, that way you know at most what you're going to be liable for. And in this market, Florida, Tampa Bay, you're going to have to pay above appraisal in order to win the deal most likely, because you're competing with cash offers and all the conventional offers are doing it. So you're going to have to do it, but you're going to want to limit your risk and you're going to limit what you might be exposed to. Number 2, the inspection. While some people are waiving inspections these days, which is basically saying that we'll just buy the property as is and our entire escrow and or initial deposit is basically becomes non-refundable, I do not recommend that, because you have no clue what issues could be going on with the home. There could be foundational issues, there could be structural issues that could make the home, in terms of a deal, just materially different. It could be such a big repair that the deal no longer makes sense, or maybe it's a health issue where all of a sudden now you can't live in the house. It's not something that you and your family want to be in, if there's mold places or water damage, any of those things. So in general, while some people are doing it and some agents I see recommending it, I would never do that. I would never recommend that to my clients. At the end of the day, there's so many other ways you can make your offer competitive. It does not make sense to waive the appraisal. What you should do is you should talk with the inspector beforehand, have your agent talk with them. That way they can make the inspection period as short as possible, maybe be able to get your inspector in there within 3 days and do a 5-day inspection period versus just waiving it in general. And at the end of the day, it's not going to make that big of a difference if you have a very short inspection period. And then maybe mention, in your cover letter, which we'll talk more about, that you're really going to be buying the property pretty much as is. You're going to be a very easy to work with buyer. And that way you don't open yourself up to that liability. You still get the protection, you still get to do the inspection, but you still get to communicate to the buyer that it's going to be an easy deal and you're not going to be tough to work with. All right, number 3, price. Now on price, it kind of is a little bit irrelevant. And why I say that is because if we go back to number 1, where I recommended you do a certain amount above appraisal. Let's go back to that $500,000 property. You say you'll pay $15,000 above appraisal. Well, if you pay $15,000 above appraisal, right, and that property appraises out at $450,000, well, that's $465,000. So regardless of whether you said you're gonna pay $500, $600, $700, $800, $1 million, $2 million, $15,000 above $450 is still $465 regardless. Now, I would keep it realistic. I wouldn't say, hey, we'll give you $700,000, but $15,000 above appraisal, and it's clearly never gonna appraise out at 700, but I would put it a little bit more than realistic. So if they listed at 500, go ahead, put 525, put 550. Because if you put an offer in for 500, 15,000 above appraisal, I put an offer in for 525, 15,000 above appraisal, the owner, who thinks their home might be the best thing since sliced bread, might think the property could actually appraise out above 500, in which case my offer is better, even though it's never gonna happen. And at the end of the day, it appraised out at 450, our offers were the same, but I want it over you. So put it a little bit more than list, make it a little bit more aggressive, but then again, use that appraisal gap, and in which case the price kind of doesn't matter. Number 4, terms wise, get a little bit creative. Just find anything that you can do to make your offer different. As a buyer's agent, what I often do is I'll offer to give a gift card to the seller as a thank you and a celebration at closing, maybe $300 to a local steakhouse, because people love free things and it just makes your offer different, and it could be any restaurant they're choosing. You could come up with anything, but those creative items, whether it's sort of gifts, or it could be like a rent back period, offering the seller, a free week of staying after the closing so they can better transition in. Talk to the listing agent to find out what different things would be beneficial to the seller, what their situation is, and then that way you can put in these terms that make the seller's life easier. It makes your deal seem like it's gonna be a lot easier than maybe some of the others, and it might differentiate it too with some of those creative terms or items. Maybe give them a case of wine or something like that. You never know what could separate you from other buyers and will get you that deal, and it could be as simple as a case of wine. Number 5, a cover letter video. And basically what that's gonna be is take a video of yourself after you view the home, ideally maybe in front of the home, and just talk about what you genuinely love about it and put a face, humanize your offer. I guarantee you that probably no one else is gonna do that. And if no one else does it, then basically when the seller's sitting there, it's that big stack of offers, and we've got 20 offers, and we've got 15 conventional and 3 cash and 1 VA and 1 FHA and X, Y, and Z, your offer is going to be that cover letter video offer. It's going to be that video offer, or Joe and Susie video offer. Whatever it is, it's gonna stand out. And it's no longer just a conventional offer with this price and this amount down. It's gonna stand out. And anything you can do to stand out when you have multiple offers is a good thing to do. And I would go the extra mile and do that video, because that's gonna help. So if you're buying in this market, those are the 5 general things that I would recommend. And also from an expectation standpoint, you should expect in terms of entering in and putting yourself in a winning position. Again, with the appraisal gap, I would recommend doing appraisal gap. Don't waive appraisals. With the inspection, just do a short one. Put the extra effort in terms of your real estate agent to book the inspector ahead of time, have him ready to go, so that way you can do a shorter period and you don't have to completely waive it. Price-wise, as a general rule of thumb, about 5 to 10% above what the list price is, but it's not necessarily gonna matter because you're gonna do that appraisal gap. You're not gonna waive the appraisal. 4 is gonna be terms. Come up with those creative terms. Give the seller that steak dinner, that case of wine, whatever it is to make your offer stand out and to make their life easier. And then lastly, the cover letter video. It's gonna make your offer just a little bit different, a little bit more human, and it's going to separate you from the sea of offers that property is likely to have. So if you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. And if you have any questions, go ahead and comment them below and I'll be sure to answer them. If you like real estate, if you want to learn more about it, whether it's specific updates in the market in terms of the market in general, or maybe a specific topic that you want to learn more about, whether it's on the buying, selling, or investing side, go ahead and check out my YouTube channel and subscribe there. I make more videos just like this, super easy to understand, nice and straightforward. But that's it for me today. So until next time, this is Conor Green. Have a blessed day.